So today I wanted to ask a very simple question. What's the point of cooking food? How does cooking food actually make anything better? How does it improve things? Well, what about the taste? Does it make the taste better? Not really, on the contrary, I would say. I have a challenge for you. Take a piece of meat and cook it any way you want. Boil it, steam it, bake it, fry it, whatever. But cook it all the way through. And do not add any spices to it, or anything else. Just take a piece of meat, cook it all the way through, and try it, without anything. It will not taste good. It will taste like an old rug that you pick up from the floor. It is very clearly a destroyed food, and it sounds so simplistic when you say it like that. Cooking destroys things, fire destroys things. But there really is nothing more to it. That's what it is. And at the end of the day, that's the case with everything that you cook, not just meat. Anything that you cook just on its own will not taste that great. Only raw things taste good on their own. Because cooking also goes with other modifications and conversions, with adding spices and different things, combining things, to create something that nature didn't really intend. I don't know why human beings enjoy the taste of spices. I really don't. It might be because they are just simply exploits that trick our senses, or it could be because they help to conserve food. But you should be wary of spices, because spices trick you, and they kill the taste of the food that you eat, so you no longer really know what you are eating. And it's the same with sugar. For some reason, things that taste like bitter poison, after you add sugar to them, can taste very good. And it's because the sugar neutralizes and deafens the bitterness. It overpowers it, so your senses can no longer detect it. Things such as chocolate or coffee or tea are all very bitter and not very pleasurable on their own without sugar. But of course, every time I say something like that, there always seems to be somebody that will say, "Oh, but I actually really love the bitter taste of chocolate, dark chocolate, or just tea with no sugar or lemon, or dark coffee with no milk and sugar." And to people like that, I don't really have anything to say, other than good for you, but that's not really the case with me. To me, bitter things are disgusting, and that's simply it. One of the dumbest things that I did in my childhood was drinking multiple glasses of tea every single day, even though I never enjoyed the taste of tea without sugar. I hated the taste of tea without sugar. Every time that I forgot to put sugar in my tea, I hated it. I quickly had to put sugar into my tea and drink it to no longer taste what it actually is. And I put a lot of spoons of sugar in my tea, up to 5 even, when I was a kid. I just did it because I guess it was more interesting than drinking plain water. And everybody else around my house was doing it, and I didn't really question it that much. And I regret it today. I don't really have any personal vendetta against sugar. I don't hate sugar. As far as I know, there's even sugar in muscle meat in the form of glycogen, and in liver as well. But you should beware of adding refined sugar to things, because it kills the taste in the same way that spices do. It modifies the food and tricks your senses, so you no longer know what you're even eating. Heating things up does not actually make it taste any better. Adding sugar and spices does. And once you reject adding refined sugar and spices to your food, and you decide to actually confront what you are eating, you realize that you have been eating crap. So in that case, what is the point of cooking food? Well, the point is to destroy food. It is to make the foods that are impossible to eat, possible to eat, by limiting the toxins and making the foods softer. Things such as vegetables, potatoes and beans, things that human beings in nature weren't meant to eat, cooking actually helps to render them edible. And also bones. By heating up bones for a very long amount of time, you can make them soft and digestible. It is a trick. Cooking is a trick of starving people and slaves. It is a trick that allows humans to eat what they are not supposed to be eating. It is a trick that allows the existence of civilization, to bring the necessary calories to slaves. But in that case, why cook meat? Meat is perfectly edible and lovely in its raw form. You present any carnivorous animal with a piece of raw meat in one hand and a piece of cooked meat in the other, it will always go for the raw meat. You can see videos like that on the internet everywhere. Raw meat is better than cooked meat in every single way. So in that case, why do people cook meat? Is it to destroy all the deadly parasites and bacteria? Well, every single other animal on this planet somehow seems to be able to handle all those parasites and bacteria. And when you really think about it, there is no real reason why there would be more bad parasites or bacteria in raw meat than any other raw product. Just think about it. All that a parasite needs is a pathway that works to get to its host, and it doesn't really care if in order to get there it needs to sit in an animal or a piece of fruit that hangs from a tree. So it doesn't really make sense to me. And it really does seem like a conspiracy, I have to admit. A conspiracy meant to prevent people from getting actual proper nutrition and from eating real food. Because I really can't think of a reason to cook most animal products. After you have tasted raw meat, you realize that there's no real point to cooking it. Seriously, try the challenge that I talked about earlier. Take a piece of meat, cook it all the way through without adding any spices or anything else to it. Taste it, and then tell me if that's actually something that you want to be eating. And do that with other foods. Realize that most of the foods that people are eating nowadays are highly modified, converted, fake foods whose taste is destroyed by spices and sugar. And they are just not what human beings are naturally supposed to be eating. It is not something that's actually good just on its own. And junk food is especially dangerous. Things like potato chips and candy bars and all that other crap. Those things are especially designed in laboratories to trick your senses, to fool you into thinking that you're eating something that you aren't eating. They are exploits, like exploits in video games that allow you to pass through walls and stuff. You should definitely avoid that completely. So yeah, that's about it. Bye bye.